Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're skipping the ultra-modern labs and heading straight to the dry savannas of West Africa. We're looking at a tiny 5,000-year-old grain that literally holds a massive biological secret. We spend so much time hunting for the next big longevity breakthrough, but as you'll see, ancient agricultural wisdom might have already handed us the blueprint. Take a close look at these grains of Fonio. They basically look like golden sand, right? But despite being so unbelievably small, this crop was historically revered. Across Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Togo, this was the food of royalty. It was reserved for chiefs and enjoyed during sacred ceremonies and weddings. Plus, it's super resilient, ready to harvest in just 6 to 8 weeks. But its true power? Oh, it goes way beyond just basic food security. You know, to the Dogon people of Mali, Fonio is known as Po-Tolo, or the original atom. As this beautiful quote from their cosmogony illustrates, they believe it is the image of the original atom from which the entire universe sprang. I just love that. It's a profound metaphor, and we're actually going to run with it today to understand exactly how this ancient grain protects our very own cellular atoms, our mitochondria. All right, let's jump straight into Chapter 1, the nutritional outlier. For decades, Fonio was pretty much ignored by global scientific research. But when you finally put it side by side with the staples that dominate our modern diets, wheat, rice, corn, a massive nutritional gap just jumps right out at you. Those everyday grains are notoriously deficient in sulfur-containing amino acids. Fonio, however, is a total anomaly. It's absolutely loaded with methionine and cysteine. And why should you care? Well, methionine is essential. Your body literally cannot make it on its own. You have to eat it if you want healthy tissues, skin elasticity, and basic cellular repair. To put this into perspective, Fonio packs methionine levels nearly twice what you'd find in egg protein, 2 times. That is a staggering concentration for a plant-based food. By adding Fonio to the mix, you're giving your body a massive influx of raw materials it desperately needs but can't produce itself. It steps in exactly where our standard diet falls flat. Which brings us to Chapter 2, the molecular shield. Okay, let's zoom past the stomach and dive straight into the cell's cytosol. Once you digest that dietary methionine, it starts a highly regulated metabolic dance called the transsulfuration pathway. It sequentially converts from homocysteine to cystathionine, and finally it's broken down into cysteine. And remember how Fonio naturally contains cysteine too? This is absolutely crucial, because cysteine is a rate-limiting precursor for our next big molecule. It's the biological bottleneck. Without enough cysteine, the whole system just grinds to a halt. And that brings us to the payoff. That abundance of cysteine allows your body to synthesize glutathione, or GSH. This is your body's master antioxidant. Now, it's built right there in the cell's cytosol, but its most critical job requires a bit of a commute. Because it carries a negative charge, it actively uses specific transport carriers to travel directly into our cellular powerhouses, the mitochondrial matrix. Once it's inside the mitochondria, glutathione becomes your ultimate molecular shield. See, as your mitochondria consume oxygen to make energy, they naturally throw off toxic byproducts called reactive oxygen species, or ROS. Normally, not a huge deal, but when they build up from stress, poor diet, or just aging, these toxic villains damage DNA, mutate proteins, and literally accelerate your biological clock. Glutathione's entire job is to neutralize these threats, keeping the mitochondria firing and your cells thriving. Moving right along to Chapter 3, reversing the hallmarks of aging. So now that we see how Fonio's amino acids build this biological shield, what actually happens when we restore it in older adults dealing with mitochondrial dysfunction? Well, let's look at some groundbreaking modern clinical trials using GlyNAC. GlyNAC is a combo of glycine and N-acetylcysteine, which, as we just mapped out, is the exact same precursor found in Fonio. In a 16-week clinical trial, giving patients these specific amino acids yielded just incredible results. It totally corrected glutathione deficiency. It improved how mitochondria burn fatty acids for fuel, and it significantly reduced genomic toxicity and inflammation, effectively reversing multiple recognized hallmarks of aging. One of the absolute coolest outcomes here is the restoration of mitophagy. Think of mitophagy like the cell taking out the trash. It's how our bodies clear out damaged, fragmented mitochondria that are just hogging space and leaking toxins. By boosting mitochondrial glutathione, we're not just slapping a Band-Aid on the aging process, we are actively repairing and upgrading the cell's entire energy grid. All right, let's get practical with Chapter 4, Unlocking the Grain's Potential. As always, science requires nuance. You can't just eat a raw bowl of grain and expect miracles. In its raw, unprepared state, Fonio comes with a serious hurdle, an anti-nutrient. Specifically, it's loaded with phytic acid, over 500 milligrams per 100 grams of the raw grain. Phytic acid is a great natural defense mechanism for the plant, but for us, it acts like a chemical vault. It tightly binds to Fonio's incredible minerals, like iron, zinc, and calcium, effectively locking them away so your digestive tract can't actually absorb them. But here is where ancient culinary wisdom and modern lab tech beautifully collide. We can actually slash this phytic acid hurdle by an astonishing 73.6%, just by using a very specific traditional preparation method. That method is germination, or sprouting. When you soak and sprout Fonio seeds over a 72-hour period, a massive biological transformation kicks off. At 24 hours, you get a minor nutrient release. By 48 hours, activated enzymes are waking up to break down tannins. But hit that 72-hour mark, that's when the magic happens. The phytase enzyme hits peak activity and completely obliterates the phytic acid. This unlocks the trapped iron, magnesium, and calcium, making them fully bioavailable, all while making those vital proteins so much easier to digest. Now, to keep this explainer completely objective, we do need to point out the current scientific landscape. We absolutely know Fonio is packed with the perfect sulfur-rich precursors for longevity, and we know those exact precursors perform miracles in isolated lab settings. But we do have a research gap. We are currently waiting on longitudinal human clinical trials that use the whole germinated grain itself to see if it perfectly mirrors the data we get from purified Glinax supplements. The biochemical roadmap is totally there, but the long-term dietary studies are the next frontier. So I'll leave you with this to ponder today. We spend billions of dollars trying to reverse engineer aging in sterile labs. But if we just look to the past, adapt our kitchens, and reclaim the original Adam of the Dogon people, what other ancient dietary secrets are just sitting there, waiting to be unlocked for our health and longevity? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we'll see you in the next one.